Hey, what's up, and welcome into a special Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. I'm Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking us out on YouTube, youtube.com. Look for Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Please like, share, and subscribe and comment everything we do with Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood as we're presented by Southwest Airlines. Yes, Southwest Airlines. You know, at Southwest, we give you the power to control your rapid rewards balance. If your balance needs a little love, you can always buy rapid rewards points anytime. But it doesn't stop there. You can also gift or transfer your points to others or donate them to a charity. Talk about make someone's day. I mean, Southwest Rapid Rewards. I use Southwest. As a matter of fact, this week as we record, I'll be going to St. Louis and I'll be using Southwest because I've got those rapid rewards points. So we have a link that's in the bio. We want you to check it out. Southwest Airlines is the travel of choice for yours truly. And I want to be able to give you the opportunity for you to sign up for Rapid Rewards. It's great for you. It's great for your family or someone else. Rapid Rewards from Southwest Airlines, the official airline for Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. It is a very special Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. On Saturday night, I was at the United Center in Chicago to witness Elimination Chamber, and it's been so much press about the WWE being at the United Center for the first time in over 30 years. They haven't been there since 94, 95, somewhere in there. So we're going to talk about what happened in Elimination Chamber and look ahead to what could happen at WrestleMania taking place in Las Vegas in April with Charles Taylor. Of course, he's with us from the CTJ Report. He is with us here for a special Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. Sir, as always, appreciate the time.
Appreciate you having me on as always.
That was quite the Saturday night with the Elimination Chamber taking place. It's always great when a big wrestling event happens in Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. It's Chicago's the hotbed of wrestling. It's always has been, and Saturday night was no different in terms of the atmosphere, just the matches itself. The fans always show up and show out whenever there are big wrestling events in the city.
Legit sellout too, Charles. I was there, and there is a distinct difference between the conjecture that you see online and what really happens. There's questions about how the WWE had a hard time pushing tickets and whether or not there's going to be people in the stands. Now, it was completely full. Now, listen, it might be expensive, but people want to be able to see Elimination Chamber because, again, usually this takes place in Rosemont at the Allstate Arena. And so to be able to come back to the house that Jordan built, that it was kind of a novelty to a lot of fans that hadn't seen WWE in Chicago proper in a long time. So Elimination Chamber is one thing, but I think the WWE actually being in Chicago is completely different, I think, for a number of fans.
Yeah, it's it's great to get like a big tent pole PLE back in Chicago. I know the fans have long wanted one. I mean, I guess Survivor Series is what, into 2023, November 2023, when they last had a big tent pole PLE here. But whenever you can get one in the city of Chicago, to just have the fans really come out and just show their support for whatever wrestling promotion it is, it's always a great thing.
I saw Jade Cargill in person. Is that what they do on TikTok? Is it,
yeah, something.
That's the mention. I'm talking my stuff now because I saw Jade Cargill in person, brother. Let me tell you something. The thing that was going through my mind is obviously she's striking, and she looks like a star, like a star of stars. And I'm like, why are you wrestling? She should be a movie star, and I'm sure that she will be for the future. But the point is, though, it's like you need to miss that. You don't need to mess up that pretty face. You don't need to have broken bones. You don't need to be in elimination chambers. Like, she should be on the big screen because she looks like a superhero in person.
And believe it or not, WWE is actually treating her that way. I know you've seen discourse, on social media, whether it's on Twitter, TikTok, whatever, about, she doesn't have any title defenses and she's not doing this. She's being treated like a star.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to do when you have a star that actually looks and feels the part. She carries herself as a star. So I'm glad that WWE is actually giving her kind of the star treatment, because we normally don't see that, especially with, Black wrestlers. But she is really getting that star treatment, and kudos to her. She's going to have a really big match coming up.
Looking forward to seeing what happens at WrestleMania. But first, we got to go through Elimination Chamber. First of all, the environment was just lit because this is about CM Punk's hometown.
Mhm.
This is about AJ Lee, and so it starts there. And of course, the Elimination Chamber is to give another opportunity for superstars to be able to get into WrestleMania is one thing, but just the pageantry of the city, CM Punk being on the lakefront, like taking videos and stuff, but just like, you know, Charles, we've seen a lot of wrestlers and seen a lot of wrestling for a long time, but nobody really encapsulates what the city's about than CM Punk. He is the greatest to ever come out of Chicago in professional wrestling. He just is. I mean, you think about he gets the best reactions, he gets the best relatability. You think about this in this city, there are millions, and we watch, sports and we love sports teams, but he is by far the sports team outside of the Bears in Chicago. He's a team by of himself, right? He's flawed, he's an underdog, but yet he is our favorite. He's the embodiment of what the city is. He's just Northside Phil. He just be a wrestler. He could just be walking down the street going to a deli, right? When his dog was alive, he's just walking Larry, day and night. He was just a guy, but he's a superstar, and he is really guy when it comes to this city. You think about the Road Warriors are from Minneapolis, but they rep the city.
Mhm.
One gang was from the South, but he represent Halsted Street. But nothing like CM Punk being able to be the embodiment of Chicago.
Yeah, it hits different when the guy that's billed from Chicago is actually from Chicago.
Hmm.
And he wears Chicago with so much pride, and that's something only we as Chicagoans can truly understand, being from the city and just having that pride and love about your city. CM Punk embodies that to the fullest. And seeing him come out to the Bulls anthem, or the theme song from the dynasty of the 90s, having Ray Clay introduce him,
Yeah,
into the ring, and just having that whole, pomp and circumstance of being from Chicago. The intro video itself into
yeah.
Elimination Chamber, like you said, with him on the lakefront, just talking about, what it means to be from Chicago. Like, we felt that, as Chicagoans. So yeah, Phil's that dude. I think he talked about during the post game, um, about him kind of being in the same breath as Michael and Scotty, and he named all the great hockey players that have played in the United Center. He was like, "Hey, look, I may be on the bottom of that list, but I'm somewhere in that list, and I'm good with that." And I think that just comes from, like you said, his love for the city, and you have to be from Chicago to be able to get that.
Here's a guy here that's dressed up as a Blackhawk. All he needed to do is put a sweater on and skates, and he would have been a Blackhawk because all his whole outfit looked like a Blackhawk, right? And
Yeah.
just you hear his music, that first chord of his music, and people just couldn't wait for him to come out, right?
Mhm.
His opponent Finn Balor for the World's Heavyweight Championship. That matchup was a very solid match. Finn got his flowers too, though. When he
Mhm.
came out, he got a big ovation. So I don't want to make it seem like that Finn Balor was just booed the entire time. He was not. CJ, he got a lot of cheers because I feel like Finn Balor's being back to being a babyface again. The boos happened when the bell rang because now you're taking a hometown favorite in CM
Right.
Punk. So now the boos happened, but I thought the fans really respected Punk and Balor. A solid match. You knew that Punk was going to win. Kind of a showcase for Punk, showcase for Chicago.
Mhm.
And so I don't know what happens to Balor after this, but I just feel like Balor will be trying to part from the Judgment Day at some point.
Yeah, I think the next step for Finn Balor, like you said, is to break away from the Judgment Day,
Mhm.
and probably be the one that's going to challenge Dom for the Intercontinental title. I think that's the logical next step, because they've been teasing this Judgment Day breakup for years, it seems like. And there have been various iterations of the Judgment Day, but I think this is the one that's going to kind of, do the whole mushroom cloud, and just completely blow the Judgment Day apart, at the seams. And it's going to be Finn. What I found interesting about Finn was he came out to his OG theme song.
Mhm.
I don't know if a lot of people noticed that. He came out to the OG theme song. He did the whole thing with the fans where they, do the. I was like, oh, this is how you start to lay the groundwork of Finn Balor's face turn. And I think for him, it's sorely needed. He's one of those performers that, for all of the great performances he's put in over the years, he's been severely overlooked, and he's had title reigns, tag team titles. He's been Intercontinental Champion before, and all of this. But it seems like since he's been on the main roster, he's never quite gotten back to that status of when he won the inaugural Universal title. Like it seems like he's been just kind of in some space where he can't quite get back to that main event scene. So
Mhm.
hopefully this might be, a start for him, where he can get a break away from the Judgment Day and kind of get himself back, into the main event scene, because he's one of those performers. Like you want to see him in the main event scene because he's going to deliver. And with AJ Styles now officially retired, there's a void there. You need someone who's going to be able to go in a ring and give you, great performances, and you tap into who he is as a character. Is his mic work the greatest? Not necessarily, but fans still tap into him, and I think that's just I think that's just how we view Finn. Like we had an attachment to Finn Balor and want to see him, succeed.
Charles, we should also talk about Mrs. Brooks, because not only did Mr. Brooks retain his championship, but also Mrs. Brooks was able to get the job done. AJ Lee against Becky Lynch. Okay, so a couple of things with this. So I I thought the build with this was kind of silly. The build for this match was silly. Becky Lynch, for whatever reason, went over the top against AJ Lee. I can understand that this has been a battle for like a year, where like something broke inside of Becky that broke her brain for her to act this way.
Mhm.
But she just was, to me, over the top, pissed off at AJ Lee like she's some kind of pest. It's not like AJ Lee is on the road every week and vying for the championship every week. That's why I thought that Becky Lynch acting the way she did was kind of over the top. And then a Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan appeal to me, where Shawn was selling everything and bounced all over the ring for Hogan. I gotta know. I just gotta know whether or not I can take on Hogan. And like he just bounced all over the place and just being over the top, silly. I thought that Becky Lynch in the same way was just kind of like, I think over the top in her personality, and thinking that she's really bothered by AJ Lee. Other side is AJ Lee. She's just being herself, kind of just cool. And, you know, I just thought that the bill was strange. I thought the matchup was very good, but the MVP of the whole thing was referee Jessica Carr for her double bump there.
Yeah, I know you've seen it online too that there may be teasing something between Jessica Carr and Becky Lynch, as Jessica Carr, before becoming a ref, is actually a wrestler.
Mhm.
So I don't know if they're trying to tease or lay the groundwork for something like that in the future. Yeah, Becky. I don't know if it was quite Shawn Michaels over the top, but it was reaching those levels
Yeah.
almost. Um, and yeah, the storyline or the build to that, I would agree, was a little off. Like you said, AJ hasn't been there a ton. It
Mhm.
seemed like that probably would have fit better if it was a Maxine Dupree or someone that she's been feuding with for quite some time. But the Becky character, for me at least, has been fun. Like we know she's making fun at poking fun at with how she's have this twisted view of things that's happening to her. But she's really taken to this and has just like gone 110%, in some cases 120
Mhm.
percent. I don't know if she's going to dial back at this point, because I think it's resonating with the fans. And I don't see broken Becky Lynch uh, going anywhere anytime soon. I think she's honestly, I think she's even going to take it to even more ludicrous levels of just insanity. I don't think she's quite finished exploring just how insanely crazy she can be.
I just thought her tap was just over the top too. Like it's always
Yeah,
just like tapping all over the place. Just
yeah,
like, oh my god, like Becky's better than that for God's sakes. That's why I made that parallel with Sean.
yeah.
But Jessica Carr taking that bump. We've been waiting to see if Jessica Carr will take on Becky Lynch. You're right about that. As a former wrestler, I don't even know what Jessica Carr looks like as a wrestler. I have to.
And
I haven't even seen like
yeah,
was she on NXT Dark
that
or like one of those side shows?
yeah, one of the side shows evolved before, WWE
I, I got to
completely
look it
took
up.
over.
Bro, I don't even know what she looks like as a I was seeing her as a referee with that ponytail all this time. I have no idea what that looks like,
Yeah.
but AJ Lee's a champion. She's going to be around more often, right? She's not just going to take that over to the north side and just hold on to it, right? Just put it in the fridge. Like she's coming to be, she's got to defend that thing or just be on TV more often, right? Or
Well, I mean, her next defense is WrestleMania.
well, she's still got to come out, like and
Oh
say
yeah,
something, right? Like
yeah. She'll come out. She'll make some appearances, but you will not see her in another match until WrestleMania.
major heat for Lynch when she came out, by the way. Just
Hmm.
because she's taking on AJ Lee. I know WWE tried to bill her as like she's from Chicago. She's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
She lives here now. She lives in Chicago now. So it's all good. It just um, you know, I just want to know whether Lynch gets a rematch at WrestleMania or whether that's going to happen because Lynch is solid when she's champion. The Maxine Dupree thing was an experiment to see whether or not Maxine could swim or
Hmm.
sink. She
Hmm.
sunk right to the fucking ground.
Hmm.
So she went right to the bottom of the sea, as you saw what happened there.
Yeah.
I know they're still going to give her an opportunity, but the point, Charles, is like, Becky Lynch was very giving, right?
Yeah.
Gave Maxine the opportunity. She wins the championship, and Maxine didn't the creative around Maxine didn't do much for her.
Hmm.
I knew that Maxine was done when she like was it in January she came out with a microphone and she said, "Hi guys, how's your holiday?" That was her opening salvo at a promo. I was like, "How's your holiday?" What like Maxine from The Office?
Yeah.
What is it? Hey guys, how's your holiday? It's like, okay, you're done.
Yeah. I
If that was written for you, boy, you're just done.
yeah, you can clearly see with creative with Triple H and his crew, over the writing, who they really are looking to try to push. And yeah, to their credit, they tried to give Maxine a chance because I think they listened to the crowd a bit with that one. She kind of got over organically with the whole Alpha Academy thing, and I'm sure her looks, didn't hurt in that matter. But like you said, sink or swim, and you put her up against someone of the caliber of a Becky Lynch, that that is a real sink or swim moment. And their matches were they weren't the greatest. They were a bit clunky, and you could literally see Becky like having to slow down a full step, maybe a step and a half, to try to make that match go with Maxine. And when you do that, that just spells trouble. Like you get put in that spot, you got to be able to keep up. You got to keep up with a Becky. You got to keep up with a Charlotte. You got to keep up with a Bailey. You got to keep up with the standard bearers, a Bianca Belair. And if you're not able to do that, you will quickly fall, down to the bottom of the list.
Represented by Southwest Airlines. Make sure that you check out the link that's in the bio for Southwest Airlines and Rapid Rewards. If you are listening to the podcast, get there to Southwest Airlines. Just go to the link that's in the bio of the podcast as well and check out Southwest Airlines and use my link. So I look forward to seeing what AJ Lee does with this championship, Charles. I think that'll be compelling. I do want to ask you about the chambers. So, okay, first of all, before we even get there, I texted you, sir, from the United Center, from the press box of the United Center. And because I hadn't been, well, the last WWE event I was at is John Cena's retirement, his last match in Chicago.
Mhm.
That was the last WWE show I went to, is at the in Rosemont to see John Cena's last match in Chicagoland. And so it did not occur to me at SmackDown, but it did at Elimination Chamber. Man, these entrances that these wrestlers have is just incredible. Long entrances. I mean, it's the Elimination Chamber. I understand you want everybody to get their pictures out, get their phones out, and take pictures and all that. Let me tell you something. there's a reason why these cards are short. These cards are short because the entrances are long.
Hmm.
Yeah, as you told me, it's like, man, how can you have so few matches? And it's what? How long was that pay per view last night? That PLA, three
I think
hours?
I think it crossed 3 hours last night.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is because of the entrances. I'm watching this, and I'm just watching like stars getting their Undertaker entrances. That's cool. But then I got to a point where I see Javon Evans, or called Javon Edwards, or whatever it was of the
Javon Williams.
broadcast. Yes,
Yeah,
Javon Williams. Is that what it
yeah,
was? Javon Williams. When I see Javon out there, and it's like 2 minutes, it's 3 minutes. That boy bouncy for two or three. I'm like, what is going on? Like, ain't no way that a kid should be able to get a entrance that's over 3 minutes. You know, Cody got there quickly. He got there quicker than Javon did.
hmm
Like what is going on, man? Like the Undertaker had a specialized entrance because he was slow and he
yeah.
deserved that. It was an aura, right?
Hmm.
The arms outstretched. You know, you got the thunder background. You got the ominous music. All right, makes sense. He's a dead man. He should walk slow. Should Kiana James walk slow? It's like holy smokes, man! Just like no wonder it takes up so much time in these pay per views because everyone's got a 5 minute entrance.
Yeah, that's why I texted you. I'm like, I think I even said, I don't know where I was at, but I was like, with all these entrances, instead of doing these Undertaker type entrances, you know what you could have had? Another match.
Match, yes, yes. You can put two matches in these entrances, like it just the good 6-7 minute match, right? Man, it was something. So I want to ask you, what chamber was best? Which one was better? Was it the women or the men for you?
You know what? I honestly think the women outperformed the men
Mm-hmm.
on this one. I think all the six ladies that were in that event brought something to the table in that match. Uh, Raquel looked like a beast um, during that match. I mean, at one point, I think that was probably what made that match better than the men, because with the men, you kind of had an inkling that it was going to be Cody or maybe Randy. Like you kind of knew who was going to win that match. On the women's side, yes, Rhea's the star, the star of stars, but they really made Raquel look strong during that match. You also had Tiffany Stratton in there. I mean, it was just kind of a back and forth thing that was happening with the women, and they all delivered. They all brought their A games with this chamber match. I know we're used to seeing a bit more violence in these elimination chamber matches, but I also know this is the TKO era with WWE, where you're not necessarily going to see that much violence that you may be used to seeing in a chamber match. That said, the women really brought it for that one, and that was probably my match of the night, was the women's chamber.
It's crazy, right? So people will look at this because their prediction was not chosen. Like, oh, I want so and so to win. I want so and
Mhm,
so. So the card sucked. No. Here's what happened. So Randy Orton wins on the men's side,
mhm,
and Rhea Ripley wins on the women's side.
mhm,
But the thing that we're going to remember is that Raquel Rodriguez got over. She
mhm,
pinned two people at once,
mhm,
and Logan Paul looked great in the men's chamber. So if nothing else, it's like the next level is on the come, right?
mhm,
Raquel Rodriguez looked dominant. And that was my pick to win the chamber, by the way, because I thought we were going to get a collision course between Liv and Raquel, and now we're not going to get that. At least for the time being, we're not going to get that. But I think that's down the line,
mhm.
right? But if nothing else, it shows that Raquel Rodriguez is going to be a powerhouse in WWE with the singles championship. On the other side, here's Randy Orton. So the Randy Orton thing, I'm mad at Randall Keith Orton. I'm mad at him because he sandbagged us all, Charles. Because his whole thing was, yeah, be nice to win number 15, and I want to get to WrestleMania, all that, right? But he was an underdog for a guy that's been a favorite in the company for a long time.
Mhm.
When we think about the elimination chamber, did we think that Randy Orton would be at the very top and win this thing? Like I was surprised. I think Chicago was surprised too that Randy Orton gave the RKO to Cody and then won it. That was pretty special.
Yeah, it was. Watching that, I think I had picked Cody to win the chamber match, because it felt like the safe pick, to run that back. I thought maybe Jacob Fatu would have tried to interfere, which set you up for a triple threat, a WrestleMania between him, Cody, and Drew McIntyre. But the Apex Predator, out of nowhere, strikes. And I'm sure you were there at the UC. I'm sure the crowd just went nuts when he hit that RKO, on Cody and got the pin. And yeah, that was literally out of nowhere, because I thought it was going to end up of maybe the final two being Logan Paul and Cody, getting the win. But having, Randy do that just shows you, one, the level of type of star he is, and then two, that even with Randy being, surefire Hall of Famer, probably one of the best resumes in all of the history of professional wrestling, can still fly under the radar and sneak up on you when you least expect it.
Yeah, man, just to see him out there, and he got a big pop, obviously, when you hear that music. He comes
Mm-hmm.
out there, and he's so smart, Charles, because he learned from Cena. He learned from some of the all-time greats. Hey, man, I'll give you my best 5-6 moves,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Like, it's coming when it happens, right? He doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. He's a much thicker guy than he was before. I remember when he was, we first came into the company in Ohio Valley Wrestling, then goes to WWE. I was like, hey, man, he's good, but he ain't gonna never be as good as Cowboy Bob Orton. And then in the first year, I'm like, yep, better than Bob. It didn't take long.
Yeah.
It's like, because Bob was smooth in the ring. Just go through YouTube and just look for your favorite Bob Orton match from WWF or Mid Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other territories. Like Bob was so good. What did they say about Bob? I think Roddy Piper said this about Bob Orton. He said, hey, man, if you don't make at least a mistake in the ring, people will think that this is too smooth. Like this is really fake. So like, that's what he said. Something along those lines. Like if you don't do something that's a little bit off center, it's a little bit strange or a little bit off timing, then people will think that this is completely fake. Which is kind of funny about wrestling, for him to say that. But that's how good Bob was. And then Randy comes in and just like he flips the entire script, man. He becomes like Bob Orton 2.0 and then 2.5 and 3.0. Like Randy is just so smart now that he doesn't have to do a whole bunch. And it's funny, like it was the first time we saw him like do the post show on WWE.com on the social. He looked around, was like, I've never done this before. No, they never asked you.
Yeah.
They never asked you because because this is the same guy that lost to Aleister Black.
Mm-hmm.
He just lost to Aleister Black a couple weeks ago, which was good for it was good for Black, by the way. He needed that victory, but to see Randy in that position, man, he's always got respect. But I think that for him to be in this situation, no matter how this match goes, that at least he's in there vying for his 15th championship.
And you know what? Part of me actually wants to see him win.
Yeah.
Not because of anything. I just want to see Randy win and get to number 15. It feels like it's been a minute since he actually held a world title. Again, for someone of his caliber, of his resume. So if Randy can leave out of Las Vegas with the WWE Championship, yeah, I'll take that. Because the other thing is, well, do we get another Cody run? A year-long run with Cody? I mean, that could work, with him as QB1, as he likes to call himself. But we've seen how that story played out in AEW and in other places. Cody, after a while starts to wane on the fans, if there's not a little bit of a refresh or a reset with him. So maybe some time away, from holding the world title might do Cody some good. I'm still wondering and waiting for that Cody heel turn. And maybe it's just me, just maybe Randy Orton hitting the RKO on his old friend just might be the impetus, might be the thing that starts this long dark descent for the American Nightmare.
Could be. There's a question I asked Cody Rhodes in my interview when I went there Wednesday at the United Center to talk to him. It's a question I wish
Mhm,
I would have been able to rephrase. When you're taping an interview, you're trying to get the right question. I didn't have them written down or scripted, so I was just trying to talk off the top of my head. He gave me some good answers,
mhm,
but I should have asked him directly. I guess Charles, what I was trying to get to, I think my question was something along the lines of, so you're QB1 in WWE, but yet you talk down to Sami Zayn and to Jacob Fatu. Is this what you consider leadership, as
mhm,
QB1? But I didn't ask it that way, but he understood my question. And so he answered it kind of vaguely. But
mhm.
the direct question is, hey, man, so you talk down to Sami Zayn, like that's the reason why he's not world champion. And you talk down to Jacob Fatu because he was in prison. Yeah, he used that term like this is the
Yeah,
reason why that you were incarcerated or whatever he said, right? And I should have asked him just like I asked you, do you feel like you are showing leadership as QB1? He answered the question. It was vague, but he answered the question. But I feel like there could be some shades of gray to his personality, to his character.
mhm,
He looks over at John Cena and goes, I don't want to do that shit. I don't want to be like complete 180 and then
yeah,
people not believe me and it doesn't work. So there might be shades of it where it may not be a complete turn like Swerve Strickland, but it
mhm.
could be where he slowly starts to be a different personality, a little bit more edgy.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it's gonna take to keep him going uh, in a WWE because after a while, the white meat baby face, always, being the guy in the white hat just tends to wear on the fans after a while because you get to a certain point and you've gone through all the bad guys.
Yeah.
I think this is what plagued Hogan in the 80s. He went through all the bad guys, and then you just get to a point. "All right, I'm tired of seeing this dude, you know, and you don't necessarily want to get to that with Cody, and it already happened in AEW, for a minute. A change in character, maybe not a full on heel turn. I would love to see it though,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but but just kind of a darkening of his character, just a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more aggressive, in how he approaches things. Still under the guise of no, I'm still the good guy, but sometimes I you know, may have to, cross the line, here and there to get what I need to get done.
A darker character. He's already Raheem Rhodes. How darker do you want him to
Well,
be? I asked him that, man. He got a kick out of that question. Did you see that? You gotta go
yeah,
back and check it out. Yeah, I asked him that
yeah,
question about Raheem. He laughed. He was snickered. He's like, "No one's asked me that question." I'm like, "That's why I'm here.
right,
The community wants to know. Like,
exactly.
why'd you use that?" He's so polished, CJ. He's so polished.
Mhm.
He's so polished. But then I like to get him. I like to get people off their rhythm. You know me for a long time. I get
Yeah.
people off their rhythm a little bit because he hadn't been asked that, so he had to start thinking about that for a second. Like I asked about his dad and about about how mainstream the business is. Is that what his dad wanted? It was. If you missed it, folks, what we're talking about is in the archives. It's on the podcast and also on YouTube, youtube.com. Yeah, Brandy,
Yeah,
you
there
got
we
me?
go. Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Brandy
Yeah.
was Brandy was all about that answer and that question uh regarding uh regarding Raheem. She was all for it, you
Yeah.
know? So,
I, I mean that goes back though, I think to our love of Dusty.
yeah.
The community, as you put it, always had a place in their heart for Dusty Rhodes. And it just feels right to have Cody, go ahead and embrace the Raheem
Yes.
part part of the character. So much so we're calling him Codarius Raheem Rhodes now. But I'm glad Brandy's all for it. But I think it speaks to just how we view some wrestlers in that regard. I mean, we feel that way about Randy Orton. We feel that way about Jeff Hardy. It's just certain wrestlers that the community, doesn't really play about.
Yeah.
So having Cody, on that list, I'm sure he gets a big kick out of it, but at the same time, it, it's something that we as Black wrestling fans, kind of hold on to and gravitate to. Dusty was like has been top three for me, throughout the course of my lifetime because of just how he carried himself, on screen and off. Just being just like this just cool dude.
Yes, he is pro wrestling's Michael McDonald. Wah, wah.
Yeah.
That's what he is, man. This blue-eyed soul dude, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's stuff that we love to see. And it just I think also the way Cody doesn't shy away from that, because I think while he was in AAW he kind of fumbled that just trying to embrace the community and things, but now since he's kind of grown from that situation and just learned to like fully embrace it instead of kind of trying to be too corporate with it. No, just take it all in. It's okay.
I do want to ask you about some of the biggest heat that took place at Elimination Chamber, and that is the appearance of Danhausen. So Danhausen's there, and I'm just going to tell you what I heard around me where I was sitting.
Mhm.
You heard fans saying we don't want that AEW shit in WWE, which was something. And then just the idea that I think a lot of people wanted Jericho. They thought he
Mhm.
would be coming out of the box and they wanted something better. They didn't want a gimmick. And it
Mhm.
ends up being like 2026 gobbledygooker. And that's too bad. Like, this is what it is, right? I mean, just like he comes out of the box and he gets booed lustily. People just did not want to see that.
Mhm.
And those that know Danhausen or try to defend Danhausen is just like, oh, Chicago, bloodthirsty, bad crowd, all that stuff. Nah, I just think that fans wanted Jericho. They wanted something like a superstar. They didn't want a gimmick, even though the gimmick was in a box. Just remember, Jim Cornette has always told us, once you're out of a box, you're over. God damn it. So he would always tell you that, right? He'd always tell you, like, if you're in a box, you're immediately over. And what Jim meant by that is like, if you are a surprise, it's supposed to be a surprise that gets over. Like Abdul the Butcher coming out of the box and he attacks Sting. He was
Mhm.
over in 91. Chainsaw Charlie comes out of the box in WWE. It's Terry Funk with a mask on. It's like,
Mhm.
oh man, he's got a chainsaw. He's immediately over. Like, there's a lot of examples of that, right, in
Mhm.
wrestling. But Danhausen, yeah, that was a bridge too far for a lot of fans.
Yeah, that was a bad spot um, to try to debut someone um, in, and I think that would have been best left, for a Raw or SmackDown or something like that. Chicago is the wrong place to try to introduce a character like Danhausen, who's a different type of cat, when it comes to his character work and everything else. But like I there were all kinds of speculations. I know Chris Jericho was one.
Mhm.
I even theorized. I'm like, maybe what's in the box is an extra pod, so you can add an extra person to the chamber matches. Just give me something
Smart.
different. Yeah, give me something different. But yeah, Danhausen coming back or coming out of the box, and it's funny. My kids were watching with me. They were like, "Who is this dude?"
Right.
Uh, and I kind of feel that's how most of the people, the casual fans who were in the United Center, kind of felt. The hardcore fans are just like this was the surprise that you've been teasing on Raw and SmackDown for the past like month or something like that. That was the surprise. Danhausen. And yeah, you've buried that kid before he even has a chance to start now, because that is going to be the one thing that fans are going to look back to is how he was presented, to the WWE universe like that. And that's not his fault. But I don't see. I don't see how, and maybe he can overcome it, but as of right now, I don't see how he can overcome
He won't overcome it.
it.
He won't. And here's why. He'll be back there with those dudes that was speculating about the crate the last 2 years, seemingly last
Yeah,
couple of weeks. He'll be back there with Apollo Crews. He'll be back there with those dudes with Gargano and just like those dudes. You know that group I'm talking about. That group
yeah.
that just like dark matches, hardly
Hmm.
even is never on TV, hardly like those dudes. He'll be back there with them. Now here's the thing, seriously, he'll probably be aligned with our truth as far as trying to get some comedy out of it.
Yeah.
But the money is him going to Mexico and taking on Mr. Iguana.
Hmm.
That's the money there. You want a comedy match? I think that's where the money is.
Yeah, I can see him being big in AAA.
Yeah,
I can see him. His main event, is that show still a thing?
I think so. Not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see him doing matches on that show if it's still around. Just kind of helping to put up and coming stars, that they put on that show over. But as far as actually having a real presence on the main roster, they probably send him down to NXT for a little while.
maybe. Yeah.
They try to work with some of the folks down there, but yeah, DOA in terms of having any main roster impact.
On the special Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday, lastly, we got to talk about Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, champion. I think it's been a good run. I just wonder, man, for a champion, he's very active. He just wants to interfere and just poke at Cody Rhodes. He didn't want to deal with Cody Rhodes anymore, and now Nick Aldis got to his breaking point right after the show. It's like, you know what? It's going to be McIntyre against Rhodes on SmackDown. So I wonder, are McIntyre and his days numbered as champion, based on what Nick Aldis said?
Oh, his days are definitely numbered. I just like the fact that Drew has been out there and really just making a mess of things.
Yeah,
Um, during he's the thing that I've liked about Drew is he's added, something um, to anything and everything that he does. And since he's got the belt away from Cody, he's really just he's been the antagonizer. Like he's been he's been the habitual line stepper uh,
yeah, yeah,
throughout this whole thing, and it's made for some compelling television with him because he could simply be the heel guy who thinks he's being righteous and you know there's a righteous reason that I have the belt. No, he's actually acting like a maniac
yeah.
and really trying to hang on to this belt, by any means necessary. And I think that's added, a bit of a fresh coat of paint to Drew's run as champion. A selfish part of me actually wants him to retain past WrestleMania. I don't know if that's in the plans for him, but I think he's done a really good job. For a second there with him and Nick Aldis, came face to face. I'm like, is Nick Aldis? Is Nick Aldis don't throw these hands?
He looks ready.
Yeah, I know he's had some shoulder injuries in the past, but I'm like, dude's still in great shape. He's got one more left in him.
Yes, like it's either Pierce or Aldis. I'm not sure who's gonna wrestle next. Aldis, like Pierce is getting those steps in. If you see
Mhm.
his videos,
Yeah,
he's getting it in now. Man, I respect them both. It's
yeah.
so funny because to me, Pierce and Aldis are the best GMs, some of the best GMs that WWE's ever had,
Hmm.
because they're both baby faces. Also, they can make tough decisions.
Hmm.
But I just think that they are not stooges. Those guys make decisions. I think
Hmm.
that the crowd respects them. So I think they're both great. I'd love to see them both back in the ring at some point because Pierce, Scrap Daddy,
Yeah,
that the old NWA champion, that dude
yeah,
can get it done. And
yeah.
all this his run with the NWA as champion, we'll never forget that. And being part of
Mhm.
TNA, just like he's always been very solid. So man, I mean, I love them in their positions they are in now, but boy, if they get back in the ring, I'm all for it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and if they ever get back to the Survivor Series of Raw's versus SmackDown, let them two have a match.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let the two of them go at it, and we'll just see, who's the better GM, between the two brands. But yeah, to your point of both of them probably being some of the best GMs we've had in quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take anything away from Mick Foley and Daniel Bryant when they were GMs, but I just think there was something a bit there was something missing, from that. I think the way that both Nick Aldis and Pierce have kind of, stepped in and handled things and really asserted, their roles as GM again makes for better television, when you can, make some of the decisions that they can make in their respective roles.
I think something that we've learned today from this podcast, if the Taylor kids say, "Who is that?" then Danhausen isn't over. I think we've learned that today. That if your kids don't know who Danhausen is, then he ain't over.
Yeah.
Your kids don't watch independent wrestling with 200 fans. They don't.
Well,
watch that,
no.
Okay.
My son wants nothing to do with AEW at this point, and that's fine. But it's they both looked at me like, who is this dude? Like, it's like I'll tell you later.
Yeah, that's a deep dive of a guy that's carrying around a jar full of teeth and whatever, man. I want to point this out. Last thing I want to talk to you, and I appreciate your time about this. You know what you notice when you go to a sporting event? It's obviously it's the play in front of you, but also it's about fans, right? It's about you and I are diehards, but you like to see the reaction of kids and women and maybe those that are not diehard fans and see what their reaction is to something, right? So right below me, you can see families sitting together watching Elimination Chamber. And so CM Punk is in peril. There's a problem with CM Punk as he's getting beat down by Finn Balor. And a kid that could have been more than 9 or 10 years old said, all Punk needs to do is put him in the Anaconda Vice and he can win, Mom. Said it out loud, Anaconda Vice. Now, that kid already knows the moveset, of CM Punk. He knows that he can go to maybe one of 3 things to be able to win a match. The kid also says to his mom and dad, like, man, if he just puts on the RKO, Randy Orton can win. And so automatically the finish, the RKO, pins Cody 1, 2, 3. The reason why I tell you that story is I'll put that same kid in an AEW show that showcases Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega. What's the kid say to their parents of what Will needs to do to win? Or what Ospreay needs to do to win? Like V-trigger, which is a 2 count, or a transition move? Is it one of those flippy moves from Will Ospreay? Where he's doing a 1,020 in the air and it lands on his opponent for a 2 count or 2.5. See the difference? I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just different. It's just different. Because here is color by numbers WWE. If I do this, it increases my chances to win. If you see me do these 3 or 4 things, then it makes you happy. Over here with AEW, I'm giving you 3 plates of food and a doggy bag to take home. As far as my arsenal, I'm giving you 25 minutes of action, which is awesome. Got no problem with it. But see the difference? The kid knew the finish. The kid knew if my favorite superstar puts this on, it's one of 3 things he could do to win. But over here, I've got, you just name the wrestler. Just pretty much name the wrestler outside of MJF. And it'd be hard for the kid to be able to consume what's the move that's going to make my favorite win. That's the difference, right?
Yeah, it is. It's funny you talk about that because I don't know which match it was. I think it was the Becky AJ match. And AJ, Becky didn't do the manhandle slam. I think it was the arm bar.
Yeah.
And my son immediately pointed out, because my daughter's watching too, and she's like, "Oh, AJ's in trouble." My son goes, "Nah, that's not her finisher." Something to that effect.
Mhm.
That's not, the move that's going to win the match. AJ's still in this, and eventually, Becky does do the disarm, the manhandle slam, but AJ kicks out.
Yeah.
But you know these things, like either Becky's going to get the win after the her finisher, or if it's if the baby face is going to go over, it's going to be this last second kick out.
Yeah.
With AEW, you can get a great 5-star, 25, 30-minute match, but you're going to get like 28 false finishes.
Yeah.
and and again, it's not necessarily what's better between the two products. It's just something different. And I think those are, kind of expectations that you have to set for yourself when you're watching different promotions. You know what you're going to get when you're watching, WWE, because they, for the most part, like to protect their finishes. When Sami Zayn hits the hell of a kick, that's it. Game over, match is over. When Roman hits the spear, it's over. When CM Punk puts on the GTS, pretty much that it's over. And that is the striking distance, like you said, is a difference as opposed to Swerve Strickland doing, having 10, 12 different, variations of ways to end the match, which is exciting because you don't necessarily know which one is the actual closer.
Right.
But it does, get you to the point of, all right, we're going to be in here for, 30, 35 minutes, and Swerve can hit you with 4 different finishers, but you don't know which one is the one that's actually going to end the match.
Someone's watching or listening and says, well, guys, which one is the right way to go about business? What I would tell you as a longtime wrestling fan, like you are, is less is more.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there's an audience that craves for more is more.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's the thing. It's about memories, right? It's remember when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you get, even if you have short-term memory, you remember being at the match or watching that show.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was the occurrence that happened. Other side of the tracks, there are 5-star matches, as you mentioned, great matches. But when you have great matches every week, what's going to be the match of the year? like you have to have the memory of Tony Khan, or you've got to be able to write this or type this down to be able to know what is the best match of AEW, because there's a whole bunch of bangers every week. They're great matches. By the way, I love that you have great matches, but matches and moments must meet in order for it to resonate for a long time.
And to piggyback off of that, what you're going to remember from last night's men's chamber match? You're going to remember Seth Rollins coming out, stomping Logan Paul to the ground.
Yeah.
You're going to remember Cody Rhodes hitting him with the crossroads, and then Randy Orton planting Rhodes with the RKO to end the match. That's what you're going to remember. Yeah. You may not necessarily remember everything that happened, before then, but you know how the match ends. And that's the memory that you're going to take to maybe go back and, let me rewatch this men's chamber match again, because I remember, how this came to an end. I don't know if I can necessarily say, hey, let me go back and watch Young Bucks versus FTR, because while it was a 5-star, tag team match and it went 30 minutes, I don't know if there's one singular move or singular set of moves that makes me, that clicks off of my hands. Says, let me go back and rewatch that match.
Yeah. You have to watch the whole thing,
mm-hmm.
because there is no one moment. There's a whole bunch of moments. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's all good. Charles, it's all good. This why there's different flavors of ice cream. I totally understand that. I'm just saying, like, that hit me when that kid was just like, yeah, all he needs to do is this, or all she needs to do is that. Like, I love that move when they do that, I love that, because ultimately it's just about finishes and entrances.
Yeah.
For the young people. That's what it is. Go to YouTube. Why is there 2 million for, for a Rhea Ripley entrance? Because she relates to the kids, guys want to be with her, and women want to be her for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's just it's just what it is, man. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Same reason why, 2 years later into Jey Uso's singles run, that he comes out, geeks with the kids,
Yeah,
and it's still over, because You know, that's what the fans want to see, and the IWC can complain about that all they want to. It's what makes those moments when he can come out and eat with everybody and kind of get the crowd going with his interests.
Like the Soul Train background we have on YouTube here.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
It's growing on me. I don't know. That's just I don't know.
It works. It works.
I guess I don't know. It just popped up. If you need your last minute predictions for Elimination Chamber or any pay-per-view or PLE, you can always find it Charles Taylor's social media, as he apparently forgot to be able to put the predictions up there. You put up their last second predictions.
Last second.
Yeah. So I saw that. I'm like, hey man, I needed that Thursday. I needed that Friday. Why is he doing it now? So tell people where they can find you on your social media channels, sir.
YouTube, TikTok, Threads are my top 3 ways that you can find me in the TTJ report as I talk things wrestling, sports, maybe a little news and entertainment mixed in as well, and these god awful bulls.
You didn't say news, did you? Did you say news too?
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to hold off on that as much as I possibly can, but yeah, it's hot in these streets right now, literally.
Capitol Hill Taylor on all your news as well. My God. So we want to be able to do this monthly to be able to talk wrestling on Wrestling Tuesday. We had to carve out this time because Elimination Chamber is in Chicago, and of course we've got WrestleMania right around the corner. There's AEW pay-per-views like Revolution taking place in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks. So we want to make sure that this stays vibrant. So make sure you check out the links that are in my link tree for all the wrestling. If you're watching on YouTube, you see that scroll down there. Not only are we brought to you by Southwest Airlines, but also you can catch me every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on Good Karma Wrestling with Brian and Gabe. I'm always teaching those guys wrestling because they think they know wrestling, but then they got to bring good old JR in. I'll tell them what the wrestling's about. They just look at me like I'm crazy because they don't know like I know, bro. They don't know like I know. You and I have been through the wars. We've seen a lot.
It's too much history, man. They got to be taught a lesson every now and then. I get it.
That's what I'm here for, to teach them a lesson. And of course, on Busted Open Radio on Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. That's on Sirius XM channel 156 every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific is when we start with Justin LeBar. So there's plenty. It's funny, it doesn't trolling. I guess people just didn't know. There's like, you should post more WWE stuff. And I go, I have 2 podcasts. I have 2 shows, and this would be 3. Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday that we're just dusting off like an old album. Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. So we're trying to get this back so we can start putting some merchandise out there for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. So
it still plays, folks. The record's still good. It still plays.
Yes. It's just you and I with a different groove than everybody else. That's all. We just do it differently. That's all. We're doing this for Raheem Rhodes. That's why we're doing this for Raheem, because he listens on the plane, listening to the podcast. So
shout out to Raheem.
Shout out to Raheem for supporting Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. All right, for Charles Taylor, this is Jonathan Hood. Don't forget to be able to subscribe to the podcast Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday is all in the bio, so make sure that you check out the show, and we'll talk to you next time on another edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. So long, everybody, from Chicago.